If you're serious about historical survival techniques and practical warmth, you'll want to hear this, because what most people think keeps them warm at night is often the very thing that lets heat escape. Modern bedding looks impressive, with thick mattresses, fluffy comforters, and synthetic fills, promising, all-season warmth. Yet, for centuries, people slept through brutal winters with far less material and, honestly, far better results. Soldiers in drafty barracks, pioneer families in uninsulated cabins, and civilians during fuel shortages all relied on knowledge that has largely been forgotten. Tonight, we're bringing one of those methods back, and it's something you can use immediately to sleep warmer than you probably do right now. Before we dive in, just take a second to support the channel. Like this video, share it with someone who actually values real-world survival knowledge, drop a comment with your own cold weather tricks, and subscribe to Warfield Prepper Chronicles so you don't miss techniques that history already proved work. Now, let's get straight into the method. Why historical sleepers stayed warmer with fewer blankets. People in the 19th and early 20th centuries didn't have central heating humming through the night. Heat was precious, fuel was limited, and drafts were constant. Because of that, bedding wasn't about comfort or aesthetics, it was about efficiency. The goal wasn't to pile weight on the body, but to trap heat in controlled layers. Modern comforters rely on bulk, but bulk alone doesn't stop heat from escaping. Historical sleepers focused on creating sealed pockets of warm air around the body, and that distinction makes all the difference. The foundation layer that modern beds often ignore. The first mistake most people make is starting warmth on top instead of underneath. Historically, sleepers understood that heat loss downward mattered just as much as heat loss upward. A thin but dense wool blanket placed directly on the mattress acts as a thermal buffer between your body and the cold mass beneath you. Wool doesn't just insulate, it manages moisture, pulling sweat away from the body so evaporative cooling doesn't rob you of heat during the night. Even on a modern mattress, this layer changes how warmth behaves almost immediately. How strategic layering traps heat instead of wasting it. Once the base is set, the next layers matter more in how they're arranged than how thick they are. Historical bedding was layered intentionally, not thrown together. A slightly heavier blanket goes next, pulled tight and tucked firmly around the edges of the mattress. This step is critical. Loose blankets leak heat. Tight edges seal it in. Each properly placed layer forms a contained airspace, and trapped air is the real insulator. This is the same principle used in cold weather clothing systems and military sleep setups, long before modern synthetics existed. Now, let's consider how sleepers created a personal heat envelope. Old journals and military records, time and again, describe sleepers wrapping blankets around their shoulders, torsos and legs, or tucking them under their bodies. This wasn't just superstition or a simple habit. It was, in fact, thermal logic. When blankets are folded lengthwise and placed beneath the lower back and legs, they block heat from escaping into open space and redirect it back toward the core. The body, in a sense, warms its own microclimate, and once that space is sealed, it stays warm with surprisingly little effort. So, why does mixing materials work better than using just one thick blanket? Well, uniform bedding is a modern convenience, but it's not really an advantage. Historical households used whatever they had: cotton sheets, wool blankets, heavy quilts, and, honestly, that combination worked better than a single heavy layer ever could. Cotton provides comfort and moisture control. Wool traps air and regulates temperature. Quilts, meanwhile, add weight and stability, preventing movement that breaks the thermal seal. Now, let's talk about how you can adapt this method to, well, just about any sleeping setup. Whether you're sleeping on a modern bed, a cot, or even a minimalist survival arrangement, the principle, honestly, never changes. Insulate underneath, seal the sides, and control the air around your body. If you're on a cot or a thin mattress, folding some extra material under your torso will protect your core. And that's where heat loss matters most. On larger beds, it's important to tuck carefully around the perimeter, as this prevents cold air from circulating. You know, even a single well-placed blanket can actually outperform several loose ones, as long as it's used correctly. So, why does this method still matter today? Well, this isn't just nostalgia or some sort of reenactment theory. Reenactors, field researchers, and cold-weather survivalists still use these techniques because they simply work. No electricity, no fuel, no modern materials required. In power outages, supply shortages, or off-grid situations, this knowledge becomes more than just comfort. It becomes real resilience. The ability to stay warm using what you already have is, I'd say, one of the most underrated survival skills out there. If you found this useful, don't let it stop here. Subscribe to Warfield Prepper Chronicles, share this video with someone who cares about practical history, and, well, keep these techniques alive by actually using them. History solved these problems long before modern convenience, and I promise your bed will never feel the same once you put that knowledge back to work.